Hello, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of my vlog, Human Spaghetti Sauce. Today, as I always do, I'm going to be picking a name from this wooden box. And this one, I am Completely Human Bill. Get that on there so you know who I am. So anyway, today I'm going to read a short story I wrote some time ago. Here it goes. The scene. A boardroom. There are several people seated around a long table. At its head stands the human personification of Chipotle, wearing a gold robe, his hands in the air triumphantly shouting, "Behold! I am a restaurant god! Look upon my empire in despair. I have flown higher than you all, and I shall never touch the ground or know morning." Subway takes a long drag off his cigarette as he scoffs. I used to think that too, and so did he. His gestures with his thumb to the other side of the table. McDonald's, covered in his own vomit and nursing a bottle of liquor, openly weeps while rocking back and forth and chanting, "I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it." No one dares to look at the desiccated corpse of Applebee's. All the meat was picked from its bones long ago. In its back, there's a knife with a solitary word on the hilt. Millennials. So yeah, that's another short story I wrote. And it's funny because it made me think about how things used to be back in the 90s with Subway. Like, we all loved Subway. It was great. Like, you got to choose your own toppings and everything. And as a result, Subway became like a way of describing that type of restaurant. If you were going to a restaurant where it had like the assembly line and you chose your toppings, people would say, "Oh, it's Subway, but blank." In fact, the first time I went to Chipotle, someone described it to me as, "Well, it's like Subway, but with burritos." But something changed in the 2000s. We don't use Subway that way anymore. There's this restaurant in Ohio I've been to a few times called Piata. And what they do is they give you a bowl of pasta and you pick your different toppings. But if I were to describe it to you, I wouldn't say it's like Subway with pasta. I'd say, well, it's like Chipotle, but with pasta. Or there's another place called Bibimbap that serves like Korean bibimbap food. Yet again, well, it's like Korean food. It's like Chipotle, but with Korean food. And it's just, regardless of your feelings about Chipotle, like its food, its business practices or whatever, like my wife used to work for Chipotle, I know it's not a great place to work. The fact is, like, those are like goals right there, right? Like, if you have an enemy, you want to replace them so badly that you just replace them in the English language and like the pop culture and just the way people describe things. Like, Subway is no longer shorthand for that type of restaurant. It's now Chipotle. That's how thoroughly Chipotle destroyed Subway. In fact, there may be a kid who finds a Subway one day and goes, "Oh, well, it's like Chipotle, but with sub sandwiches," because they just don't know. And if you want to aspire to be anything, I guess the message of this video is aspire to be Chipotle.